Welcome to Don's Manufactory. Today's update. In all of that road testing, the car has become unstable, kind of has a bit of an unstable idle. So that's what's going on today. First off, I got to clean myself a little space on my bench here, so I got room to tear my carburetor apart. In my guessing, I kind of figure it's a power valve. This is my preferred power valve for this particular setup. It is a dual stage out of an 85 GT Mustang. Basically, it's got a small metered orifice that opens first, and then the main orifice that opens up fully, and then the restrictions inside the metering block is what decides the mixture. But in the intermediate step, this decides the mixture. These are kind of hard to come by these days. I had to get it off of Evil Bay. It is a Walker 70-66. When you're setting up your carburetor for fuel economy, that two-stage power valve allows you to take the jets down for good economy and not have a lean bump before the power valve comes in. Changing the power valve to one that opens at a higher vacuum, that's not the idea behind gas mileage. Well, with the T5 and the 3.0 gears, used to get 23, which ain't bad considering she can turn 106 miles an hour in a quarter. I got to get this Speedway differential off of my bench, do a little cleanup. I did buy a whole complete carburetor kit for $41.50. Let me get a little cleanup done here, and I'll bring you back when it's when I got something to show you. Like I've got the carburetor off the car, and I may even show you that process just so you can see how Betsy's put together. Okay, here we go. I'll just undo the choke. 5/8, 1 inch. Yeah, I always hold these when I'm reefing on the other bolts or the other fittings, because I do not want to screw up the threads in the carburetor or cause a fuel leak. How many times do you undo or tighten these up only to have the fuel leak because the fitting? That's the other thing I do, is I lubricate the tube, because what'll happen is you're tightening these up and it'll put a little torsional twist on the fuel line going into the bowl, and then as soon as you take your wrench off, that torsional twist backs the large nut off, and then it leaks fuel up there. So you have to use 2 wrenches. It is the only way. Oh, interesting. That one took the stud out. Did not expect that. Of course, these are not very tight. No point in having them tight. If you tighten them too tight, all you do is warp stuff. Yeah, it does. So I gotta pull the PCV valve off as well. And off comes the carburetor block that has a vacuum port on the back, which feeds off the primary side of the barrels. It's a heat shield. Absolutely essential if you want to keep your fuel from boiling out of your float bowls or out of the accelerator pump. What it does is the heat from the motor boils the gas in the accelerator pump, and so it just sits there and percolates the fuel into the motor, gives it a really tough hot soak start. You put this on there and it cures it. It just fires right up with just a touch of the key. Okay, let's stuff a couple of towels down in there. One of the things that's been happening is if the car sits for any time at all, just 2 or 3 days, then the bowl is empty and I have to grind it, crank it over until the carb fills up and starts. So that's another reason why I think that it's probably a power valve or whatever, is the fuel just leaks out just slowly, and you can see there's fuel stains around on the heat shield because it's coming out the throttle plates, see, when it sits. So I think that's my problem. I just won't know until I get it apart to look at it. Just for grins, before I do that, I think I am going to pull this plug off the side here. Well, it's actually, well, it's not full, but it's, I expected it to be empty and it's not. Okay, so part of that might be because it's been sitting a long time while I was restoring the car, and the gasket's dried out. Maybe that's the only problem I've got. Okay, just let the fuel come dribbling out. So I don't know if any of you guys have watched my drag racing video with my daughter back in 2001. But actually one of the things on the last run when I was racing the, what was it, a Falcon, I think. One of the things that happened right at that moment was the secondary accelerator pump quit. And when I went for the whole shot, it just stumbled onto itself, and I had to back out of it and hit the throttle again in order to get it to take off. And that was the moment that this quit working, although it's still working now. But I think I will make sure that that is clean. Okay, let's see what happens here. Don't really want to tear the gaskets all to hell, but I don't imagine I'll be able to save them because they've been on there a long time. Although, they don't look bad. That's pretty amazing considering. Wow, that's sort of a rubberized gasket. I like that gasket design. Let's see if I can get the... This is going to be a whole lot more difficult. Need to get... I got to find a little spot to pry that open. And just there it is. Just get a little bit of pressure on it. What I look for immediately is... Oh yeah. See? If you pull it apart after draining the fuel, and then there's fuel inside the power valve cavity, that tells you right now, okay, that's the problem right there. So, I got to get this power valve off and test it. Well, the power valve is tight. Okay, this power valve has been in this carburetor since 1987. Okay, well, I need to test it. So, that is the possibility. So what can happen is, if the gasket loses its seal, then you can get vacuum bleeding across this way. I have test gear for this. So here's a little thing I put together. First I need to test my vacuum gauge to make sure that it's sealing. So I will just put a plug in the end of this hose here, and then we'll see if it seals up. Yep. Okay, so the pump, the hose, the check valve, everything here is working okay. So then what I do is, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. It's just a little rubber boot. I can't remember what it came off of. It was just perfect for putting a vacuum fitting on. It fits right over the power valves and seals against the top. So this is how I've been testing power valves. Oh gosh, I've been using this since the 70s. And it's still good. I mean, the rubber hasn't given it up here. It still looks pretty good. So we will just stick this hose on here. Okay, I need to get something really smooth, like maybe this aluminum here that's smooth and flat. And let's just double check that my tool is sealing. No, it is not. Had to run down into my electronic stuff, and I ended up using the small wire ties and doubled them up so that it didn't create a crease right where the head of it is, and that sealed it up really good. So now if I put it against the plate here and pump it up, she's got a good seal. The power valve is not leaking. That begs the question, what the heck is going on? I'll be danged. What do you do when you don't find anything wrong? I mean, the only thing left is that this gasket was having a problem sealing. But it does not look like it. You can see where I had machined this flat, but I didn't take it all the way, see? I mean, I took it out here where the vacuum stuff is, but I think maybe I need to machine this body flat. I guess I better pop the back of it apart too and see what's happening back there, just so I know that it's not something happening back here. But there's no power valve back here. Oh, you hear that? That's my reminder. It's time for Joe Daddy. Boy, there's nothing inside these bowls. The inside of this carburetor is just as clean as a whistle. Yeah, I really like these gaskets. Holy cow. You know how long these gaskets have been in here? Let's see. When did I have this carburetor part last time? And you can see once again, I didn't flatten it as far as this whole area around here. So I could really take this apart and flatten this surface. That's one of the main reasons why Holleys kind of act funny, is that over tightening the screws pulls these ears up, warps the body, and then you get cross bleeding between all these different passages. So if you flatten this surface and then just go through a normal rebuild and put it together, it gets rid of fuel leaks, it gets rid of stumbles and weird metering and all kinds of stuff. See, really good print on the gasket, even up here close to the power valve where it's not flat. So I think maybe I'm going to go ahead and machine that main body a little bit more, because that has to be what's going on with this thing, because this power valve is decidedly not bad. Gosh darn $60 carburetor kit. Let's see what kind of gaskets they got in them. I really like these because, man, these are really long life gaskets compared to cork or the paper ones from yesteryear. Especially if I was going to, yeah, see, these are just the paper ones. I mean, I can use these, but if I ever had to change my jets, fortunately I have all the metering figured out on this carburetor, so I can put it back together and it'll be okay. But The other thing is these paper ones don't have the same amount of compressibility that these do. So they will not make up for variations in the flatness of this surface as much as these will. Boy, I just hesitate to open this kit, but I'm going to have to because I'll have to replace this gasket here. The reason those screws are loose is because this gasket relaxed. But, you know, it's actually still in really good shape, so I could reuse it if I wanted to. A little break there. I had to order in some gaskets. It's amazing how nobody carries these anymore. I got them off of Amazon. 5 sets for 20 bucks. Quick Fuel Technologies version, so it's not squared off. See, here's the original ones, the Holley ones look. That's what I'm doing. So I got put new gaskets in here. I had to rework the little spring that sort of damps the movement of this float. It was not in there right, and I don't know if that was me or the way it was from Holley. I don't ever remember taking that apart, but I straightened that out. These hard plastic seals for the screws, I really like those. You can see I've got black ones on here right now. I really like these. They don't smush like the paper gaskets, so you get a better tighten. It's a nice secure way to hold the thing together. I've had it apart a bunch of times, and every time this cavity is full of fuel, except this last time. And the only thing I did was I ran around and sort of restaked this ring because I was thinking maybe it's leaking fuel anyway, because I put my little tester on like this and it's not testing that seal right there where that's pinched down. So I went ahead and repinched it. It seems to be working. So now that I got the good gaskets, I'm going to put it together. This was a replacement power valve that I got, but the body is so warped. You can see I tried chucking it up in the lathe and squaring it, but it's so warped that the gasket won't seal. So the guy that's selling these, he's selling them online. These are rejects that were sent back to him probably, and he's selling them as new parts. They may be new, but they're defective. A lot of good that does. Spend good money for a part and it's just garbage. Okay, that's enough rant. Well, seems to be okay. Just moseying along. This new water pump, it's still leaking. There's antifreeze puddled in there. And this inside bearing has started to scream. So I have to replace this water pump again. Yep, here we go again. Okay, so 3/8, 1/2 inch, 9/16, and 5/8. Those 4 wrenches will take this whole thing apart. Oh, and a screwdriver for the hoses. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm doing. Get the fan blade and the shroud off, and then I go after the hoses. I pull the upper radiator hose too, or at least off of the intake manifold, because it helps get the bypass hose out of there. It makes it, just gives me more room. Then it's, yarded out of there and clean all the gasket surfaces and everything, which, of course, it's all I just did, so it was really easy to do. And here, I'm actually putting the old water pump back on, the one I took off before I replaced it last time, because the noise that I've been chasing didn't turn out to be the water pump. In fact, I'm still chasing that noise, so I'll reserve judgment on what I think it actually is. So anyway, yeah, put the old water pump back on. I took the aluminum one, that new one, back because of the noisy bearing and the fact that it's still leaking coolant. Anyway, so this job goes really quick. I mean, half hour maybe, and it's all done up. And the coolant is still fairly new, so I use a filter. I just use a paint filter and to get any crud that may have fallen in the coolant when it was draining, and then that's it. As usual, I pull that upper feed hose to the heater core out and use that to vent all the air out of the block. That finishes up this round of working on Betsy, trying to get her to 100%. You know, I'm really looking forward to the day that it's got the kind of reliability that I remember from 30 years ago. It's nice that I'm getting down to the smaller stuff that's a little easier to do, but it's important. Little drivability issues and that stupid water pump. Ah! It's a beautiful day. 70 degrees here in Portland, and I think I'm going to take Betsy for a drive. But I will end this video here. It's long enough as it is, and I want to thank you for watching. I'll catch you later.